I'm doing a segment called Self-Help for Adulting when you've watched too much news, where people can learn how to adult in modern times. I hope you enjoyed this short story as much as I enjoyed writing it. Here we go. In the town of Briar Glen, the people prided themselves on being deep thinkers. Unfortunately, this mostly meant they disagreed with everything. The town council meetings lasted so long that historians use them to measure geological time. One evening, the town faced a genuine crisis: traffic. Every morning, wagons and bicycles and chickens and one deeply committed roller skating mailman collided at the same chaotic intersection in the center of town. Arguments broke out daily. A goat had been elected temporary crossing guard simply because no human would take that job. That's when Mr. Walter Crumb presented an idea. Now, Walter was difficult. He corrected grammar during funerals. He microwaved fish at community events. He once said, actually, so many times in a single meeting, that a woman threw a bread roll at him out of reflex. Still, Walter stood before the council holding a sketch. "I propose," he announced, "a roundabout." The room froze. Technically, this was an excellent idea. Traffic would flow continuously with fewer collisions, less congestion, simple, elegant. But then everyone remembered. Walter was the one who suggested it. Mrs. Holloway narrowed her eyes. "Interesting," she said. Which in Briar Glen meant absolutely not. "I just think," said Councilman Briggs, "we should avoid circular thinking." Several people applauded, despite having no idea what he meant. Another council member stood dramatically. "If Walter Crumb supports it, I suspect hidden motive." Walter blinked. "My motive is fewer wagon crashes." "Exactly," whispered Briggs suspiciously. The council rejected the roundabout unanimously. Instead, they approved a far more balanced solution: 14 stop signs, 3 whistles, a flag rotation schedule, and a crossing goose named Bernard. It all failed immediately. The goose developed authority issues. Nobody understood the whistle system. At one point, 12 wagons became trapped in the intersection for 6 straight hours, while citizens argued over whose turn it technically was, according to subsection C of the traffic charter. Meanwhile, neighboring towns quietly installed roundabouts and moved on with their lives. Briar Glen, however, doubled down because admitting Walter had been right felt emotionally unbearable. Then, one rainy afternoon, the mayor himself became stuck in the intersection during a jam involving two carts, a piano mover, Bernard the goose, and a woman transporting ornamental pumpkins. After 3 hours in the rain, the mayor finally snapped. "Fine," he yelled. "Build the ridiculous circle." Construction began the next week. Within days, traffic flowed beautifully. No jams, no shouting. Bernard retired peacefully to his pond. The townspeople loved the roundabout. Naturally, they pretended they had supported it all along. Some even believed that it was their idea. "Oh, yes," said Briggs confidently. "I always believed in rotational infrastructure." Walter sat back and said nothing, mostly because nobody wanted to give him the satisfaction. But months later, the mayor placed a small sign beside the roundabout that read, "A good idea does not become bad because you dislike the person who recommended it." Underneath, someone had scribbled in graffiti, "Except maybe fish in the microwave." Walter was wrong about that. And for once, the entire town agreed. The adulting lesson here is wisdom is expensive when pride refuses to buy it. Sometimes the greatest obstacle to progress is not a bad idea, but a bruised ego. So, what's happening in Maple Circle is showing up everywhere in today's world. First, we're seeing a rise in security type thinking that quietly turns into isolation. Whether it's communities or workplaces or even nations, the instinct is often to build higher walls, physical or emotional, when uncertainty rises. The adulting lesson is higher fences don't reduce fear. They just reduce contact with reality. Secondly, Briar Glen reflects something just as familiar in today's headlines. Good ideas getting rejected because of who said them instead of what was said or suggested. In a time when polarization is so high, we're not just debating solutions, we're debating identities. And that slows everything down. Both stories land in the same place. Maturity is when we stop letting fear or pride make decisions for us, because eventually life forces us back into shared space. And it's better when we didn't burn the bridge or block the road or reject the roundabout before we all needed it. Thank you.